Hey guys, this is Ajmal the developer, and welcome back to CSS tutorial number 3 on CSS selectors. So in this tutorial we'll go through three different slides, categorizing three different ways of selectors, and after these three slides we will go into coding session where we will actually start implementing those selectors live. So without further ado, I will see you in our coding session. So CSS selectors, the first category is simple selectors, and the selector is based on the elements name, such as p tags or h1 tag or h2 3 whatever, as well as id, which I will explain, and class. So as you can see below, P, curly brackets, text align, column, center, semicolon, and closing bracket. So that declaration would apply to all of your P elements on the page, and all of those P tag or P paragraphs will be center aligned. And the P is basically the selector that is selecting your paragraphs. So that would be the name of your element, and the ID would be hashtag para would be the ID, and whatever is between semicolons or the declaration. So therefore all of your HTML element with the ID para 1 or paragraph 1 would be would have the color of blue. So that's the way that you would select your paragraph using ID. And the last item would be class, and the way you declare your class selector would be you put a dot and then the name of the class. So that's very important to keep in mind. So therefore all of your elements with the class center would be center aligned or whatever the declaration specifies. So those are 3 points for our sample selectors, and the next category of selector is combinator selectors, and as you can see between the brackets, it's based on a specific relationship between the elements. So the way we would declare that would be h1 comma h2 comma p. And the logic behind this is, for example, if you have three different elements that have the same declaration, for example, you want all of them to be text align center, as opposed to writing three different declarations for all three different elements, you can simply group them all together, and that way you write little code, but you achieve the same results. So that's the whole point of combinator selectors. And we also have the next type of combinator selector, where you can actually choose a p tag, and the ones that do have the center ID, you can only choose those to be to apply the declaration to. So for example, you have 10 paragraphs, and 5 out of those have the ID of center. So you only want those 5 paragraphs to be applied to the declaration. So the way to do that would be you put the name of the element P, in this case dot, center would be the ID, and then declare your declaration. So that's the whole point of the this type of declaration. And moving along, our third or last selector would be universal selector. So in this universal selector is it's something that apply to your entire body of HTML. For example, in some cases you want the whole body of your HTML to start from the left to the right or right to the left, or or you want them to be centered in that document, or to the left or to the right, that's where you would use the universal selector. And universal selector is quite simple. So all you do is at the beginning of your styling, uh, you, you enter the star and then open brackets, whatever declaration you want to add, and then close. And that would apply to your entire document regardless of what other declaration you would add on later. So that's a neat way to um, save save coding and time. Um, Moving along, we'll start actually coding some of these declaration, so that that you would see how it is. As you can see here, we have our simple boilerplate. We got our styling part here where we do our stylings, and we have three different elements here. We have H1, H2, and P. And we're gonna actually go and pick one of our declarations and apply it here, and see how it is. So starting from the beginning, P tag text align center. We want to apply that declaration to our P tag, which is this paragraph. So the way to do that would be simply write the word P for paragraph, and in between your brackets you want to add your styling, and in this case we would do text align center, and don't forget the semicolon. So that's all it takes. Before doing that, I want to comment this out. I want to show you how it looks without the styling, and then we can uncomment this and show you how it is after styling. So let's run this on our browser. So as you can see, the paragraph is to the left at the bottom. And let's go back and apply the style and see how it looks. So we're gonna uncomment this and save it and go back to our browser. So as soon as I hit refresh, this is a paragraph. Paragraph should move to the center. There you go. So it's to the center. And we're gonna go back to our coding. So that is for that. I want to show you a few other declaration, because it's quite important for you to know all of them. And we're actually gonna use the ID paragraph and apply the color blue. So we're gonna give this H1 a ID of para1. So that's the ID for that, for H1. And we're gonna declare the ID. So the way to declare your ID would be you enter the character hash tag, and then you write the ID name, in this case para1, open close bracket, and color, we want it to be blue. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our browser, and so as soon as I hit refresh it, the first the hello world should turn blue. There you go. As simple as that. So let's see what is the other declaration we have here. We have the class. Why don't we use that and maybe use a different color? So I want to give H2 a class of maybe let's call this color, and the way to do that is you put a dot, and then or not maybe color, because color is very um, it only applies to the ID. We don't want to confuse anything, so just put COL for color, and we're gonna call this color. And so the declaration is color, and let's give the red color, and let's save this and go back. So as soon as we hit refresh, we should see a red color here for the smaller heading. There you go. So that's that. And I also want to show you the so those were all coding for our sample selector. I want to move in. I also want to show you the grouping, because that's very handy. So let's change all of these to the back to the way they were, and I want to show you the grouping selector, why we need that and what is the benefit of grouping. So let's say we have we want all of these elements to be to have color color blue, and for example we have P. We want to have color blue for P, and we want H1 to also have color blue, as well as H2 to have color blue as well. So you see here what I'm getting at. We want all of these elements to have color blue, and instead of writing it this way, which it would work, however the issue would be there would be a lot of coding, and it's not a good practice to achieve the same solution with a lot of lines of code. As a good programming habit, it's best to achieve the same solution with less code. So to do that, instead of doing this, styling all three elements separately, we can actually use the combinator selector and select all of them. So H1 comma H2, and we can actually go ahead and delete all of this. We don't need them, and we still achieve the same result. So if you have done everything correct, this should work. Let's save this and go back to our. There you go. So we got blue for all of them. I want to actually go back and show you the other way around as well, because I want you to see that difference. So for example, let's go back, Control Z. So if we have them like so, color blue, we have them declared separately, this should also work. I just want to double check that it does work, so that you see that if yes, it does work. Of course it does work. I shouldn't be surprised, but what I'm trying to say is that you can achieve the same result with using either way, but the only significance is that you can actually achieve the same solution with less code. So that's the whole purpose of combinator selectors. And this should conclude our tutorial number 3 for CSS selector. I don't want to drag this on because this is already getting longer, but you get the gist of it. I'm pretty sure you would know how to do p.center combinator selector, as I explained, so I don't need to do anything. So with that being said, I appreciate your time and effort, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.